everyone. Welcome back to Testimony Strong. I'm your host, Chase Hawkins. This is sponsored by Vet S.O.S, a program and a channel that really is all about veterans. And here on this channel with Testimony Strong, we are all about the 99 going to seek the one. And we do that by sharing the gospel. And just because none of us are preachers on this channel, we do that by sharing our testimonies. And that's the strongest way to reach people we have found. And I have my very good friend Marty. He's part of my Fighting Diamond. I call him all the time. Very excited to do his introduction for you guys and to hear part of his testimony. Beautiful comeback story on how Christ saved him. And just as you hear his story, we just ask that you share this, or if it hits home from you, please reach out. And we'll have programs and things of that nature to help give you support systems. So, with that being said, Marty Johnson. He is a veteran. He is a Marine, so he chose right, just like the other contestants that I always say. And he is a father of four. He is a grandfather of four, and he's been married for the last 14 years to his bride. And he came back. He's from Michigan. Came back to Michigan back in 2016. And now he is in a full-time ministry with Warriors Set Free, which you have heard about a few different times on this channel. But Marty, welcome. Thank you for coming on this channel. And yeah, let's get into it, man.
For having
How
me.
you been? How's this week been going?
It's it's been going. It's been kind of tough. Um, Wife's not been doing the best, but we uh we're fighting through. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a different way you fight now, right? Versus
Oh, it's
later. And for one, I'm sorry to hear that you and your wife are battling, but um, and I think that's an important factor too. I mean, right off the bat, you're saying, it's like, hey, this week's a tough week. And a lot of time, we're more cheerful and things like that. It's like, oh, the Lord said, it does not mean life stops, right? We still hit trials every week, every day, and we still got to battle through those. So, I guess with that even being said, how is your wife doing? What are you guys battling?
well, she's had like 3 or 4 different neurologist visits for different things, and it's it's been tough. She Watching her go through this battle is extremely tough. I can't even imagine what she feels on a daily basis. There's many different things going on, so um, it's just a different day. And there are great days, and we give all the glory to Lord for that. And it's it's yeah, you said that earlier. There's only one way I know how to fight now, and that's with Christ. Uh, but she's she's doing good. She
Well,
just
obviously, the yeah, no, I'm with those type of hardships, and I appreciate you sharing. And uh, it's never easy to especially have your bride go through something and for you to feel helpless. So it's amazing that you go to the Father. It's amazing that you fight that way. Um, Obviously, here we're definitely going to be praying for you and your bride, especially during this time to get through this season. And I know this is just a portion of your testimony. And we obviously want to hear, how, God has really affected your life and, kind of what your walk started with Christ, and obviously where you're at now and how that, really transitioned. So, with yourself going into, I guess growing up, what did that look like for you, when you started your walk with Christ?
I I went to church a little bit with my mom and dad. They they brought us up in a Lutheran church, and I it was young. I Only thing I remember is um, all they wanted to do is, in my mind, is everybody smoked. So my parents would, after the service, just go and smoke, and it really wasn't. I don't know. It it wasn't it wasn't Christ driven, from what I remember as a child. But then we just stopped going, and I had to find. Um, I ended up going to a local church by myself with some friends and a family, and um, so yeah, I said the prayer when I was young, um, but nobody ever really showed me how to walk with Christ. And,
When you were, I guess, with that being said, with your parents and things like that, and you just didn't feel, you said you started to go individually and you went with another family. What do you think, or how did you feel led to do that, or like try to navigate to even just go to church at such a young age, essentially by yourself? I guess, have you ever reflected on that?
as you're asking me that, I I didn't like being at home, and I didn't realize that. Um, I always wanted to be out. I Not that my parents weren't great. My relationship with my dad was kind of non-existent, because he worked all the time, and um, yeah. But I found comfort in the family, because I would normally stay over there on Saturday nights, and we'd have breakfast, and it was a whole family thing. Looking back on it now, um, that's kind of why I ended up going with that family in that church, um, and that lasted for a little while. Um, when I got into high school, that kind of stopped, and then in my later years of high school, I ended up just going to Young Life and that, because there were some cute girls there. Um, but like I said, yeah, that portion of I believed in God, but I didn't know how to walk with Him.
Mhm. So, essentially, you didn't have the direction, but at least the desire to feel essentially at home or at peace. I mean, I guess that's what I'm picking up from your stories thus far is, um, you know, that that devotion or that acceptance, even when you were young but didn't really fully understand, you still were guided and directed into a way to like, I mean, that was some form of comfort because like it's like, hey, this is, I don't really want to be at home, but I want to be at church or around this family or whatever case may be. So like I feel like there was some form of like small direction there. It's like seeing without seeing, in my mind. And
Sure.
I have found that very peculiar because I've heard it in other people's testimonies where it's like, actually, even my wife's testimony, she was like, "Yeah, I would go to church as a kid by myself, and I have no idea how I got there, or what was driving me there." And I think that's one of those unique things where the father protects the innocent and kind of draws them from a scenario into a home, and so I think that's a very unique part of your story. So I guess if you're in high school now, and kind of going in, where is your faith at kind of in that high school time frame, other than just going to church to chase girls?
Mm. Well, again, looking back on it, I started drinking when I was 13, and I got I got along with everybody, but I got bullied a lot. Um, and like I say, just reflecting back on it, starting to drink was my way to cope with that. Um, because the more I drank, the funnier I thought I was, the more accepted I thought I was, and little did I know I was becoming an alcoholic at a young age, because I would drink to get drunk, and it it just progressed throughout high school, and really wasn't good looking back on it.
So were you going to church at this time or any form of faith or any sort of, or is this kind of, I guess, call it the Marty show in that sense of like, hey, I'm kind of, I'm going to live the life I want.
Yeah, no, freshman year I stopped going to, from what I remember, stopped going to church, and it must have been the latter part of my junior year into my senior year, just doing the young life thing every once in a while. Um, but I was focused on sports. Yeah, I had, yeah, the high school years were kind of rough as far as that goes. Some drugs got in there. It was rough.
And then did you join the Marine Corps right out of high school then?
So my first girlfriend, really kind of is the one who got me. She ended up being my first wife. There's a backstory there, but I joined about 8 months after high school. So um, December of '85, after I graduated in '85. Yeah.
Okay. So I guess, with, Christ being kind of at the minimal forefront of your mind, and then you in a relationship that ends up becoming your first wife, joining the Marine Corps, which is obviously, as we know, is kind of baptized in alcoholism, even more so. What was your relationships life? What was your mindset? What was going on? And just your overall relationships with people at that standpoint.
Yeah. So yeah, you're right. The Marine Corps, my alcoholism, just exploded. My relationships. I was such an angry person after joining. Um, I can't even explain it was almost just like a switch went off. Um, whereas when I never, I never was able to really, in my mind, defend myself when I was growing up. And now I'm taking all of that aggression and all that anger and all of that stuff and adding alcohol to it and the Marine Corps and um, just didn't want to be around people. It was not a good time.
So, um, you were in the Marine Corps for 4 years. Were you married the whole time while you were in the Marine Corps?
No, I went over to Okinawa my first year, and about 20 days before I'm coming home, I got a Dear John letter saying that I don't think we should be together. I come home, get a divorce at 19 years old. I go down to Lejeune, um, met this girl, knew her 2 weeks, um, got married. Year and a half later, got divorced. It was just the process of it. It just was not a good time. And then I got out in '89, um, and I was out for probably, I don't know, 8, 9 months now. Um, I got a couple DUIs. Second one was a hit and run. I was in Muskegon County Jail, facing some time, and uh, my lawyer comes out and gets me out of court, or gets me out of jail, takes me over to court, and I think, here we go, that's it. And he comes out of out of the courtroom, and he hands me my license, my paperwork, everything. And he goes, "You're free to go. And oh, by the way, here's your orders for Desert Storm." I'm like, I was so happy at the time, right? But that right there, spun me out of control for the next 37, 8 years. Because I was a Marine, I could do anything I want and just get a slap on the wrist. It didn't serve me well.
Eh, But it basically amplified that Marty mentality of your own, the identity that you which tried to create, or like the Marine mentality.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
and um, you know, yeah. And then so the year and a half, your second relationship, um, you had talked about basically, downward spiral mindset. You're transitioning essentially out of the Marine Corps with 2 DUIs. Obviously, there's a lot of brokenness there. I mean, I guess what was the mindset? What was your heart posture? Um, I guess what sort of lifestyle was Marty living when he got out of the Marine Corps that kind of dove into basically that charge before we go into Desert Storm.
I come home. They got hired by a local biker bar, um, which was just right up my alley now. Um, so I'm drinking.
Yeah.
I'm fighting. I'm getting paid to do that, to do both of those. Um, and then my old drug dealer walks in the bar, and now I'm back on stuff that I shouldn't have been on. And it was a good 9, 10 months of just doing that. Thought I was thought I was doing great, but I was just imploding.
Mhm. I think that's one of those very, because it's not an uncommon thing for that mentality to be had, especially in any branch of service, when you're getting out, and the alcohol, the pride, oh, I'm this veteran or whatever the case may be, and people look at you different when you call yourself like, I'm a Marine vet or whatever the case may be. And so you like, I don't know, it's almost like you're on this pedestal or this high ground, and like you said, you think you're building yourself up, you think you're doing well, but really all it is self-destructive mentality until essentially you implode, and that kind of brings you to your next moment, where you're in the court system, imploded, but then again, that Marine mentality of what happened within the court system, that it even amplifies you even more, of the I can do whatever I want attitude. And I think the devil is, they don't call him the king of this world for no reason. He is very deceptive, and he is the master of lies. So us believing that we can get away with anything, do anything, and not, you know, have the consequences to that. It's like one of those like it's just the deception that so many men face, especially with an alpha male mentality. Um, so I guess I would want to hear more about when you are, you got the charge. You said basically, this just amplified your mindset of like I can get away with everything. How did that end up start leading your life that way? What was the pattern there?
So I went in the Marine Corps wanting to be a grunt, open contract, and they put me in an office, said my clerical scores were high, and I didn't understand that, and it that kind of started me off not on a good foot because all the jokes, everything, right? What are you gonna do? Throw your typewriter at them, blah blah blah. So when I got recalled, just coming off of this, right? I'm a Marine. I can pretty much get away with whatever I want. I can get out of it, and now I'm going over and I'm going to do what a Marine's supposed to do. And because of the admin background, I didn't go over. I was sent to Florida to do death notifications, and funeral details, and part of what they call a family casualty assistance team. And uh, so there you go. I was extremely not happy about doing that. Didn't understand why. And back in that time, after you did those things, you just got in a van. You didn't have debriefing sessions, nothing. You didn't talk. You went and you drank, and um, you pushed it down. You didn't talk to anybody about it, and that was hard for me. It was extremely hard. Christ isn't in my life. Um, I still believe God existed, but Christ is not in my life at all. I was like, how can you allow this, right? Allow.
Mhm.
I couldn't figure it out. So I drank heavily. It was not good.
And how long did this go on for where I guess your mindset, the mentality, I guess your service at this time, I guess how long did you continue to serve while drinking, while essentially giving these um, community reports, essentially death referrals or death letters? Because that's going to be any form of trauma as well. For one, you're not serving the way you want to serve, and then you're doing the complete opposite of what the way you would want to serve, and you're kind of, you're dealing with the family aspect of everyone back home and kind of getting, that side of trauma versus like it's the backline trauma, it's not the frontline trauma. But I mean, nevertheless, I mean, you're still seeing X pain points to individuals. I guess what was
I
that?
I I I tried to overdose a couple times, by alcohol. Right, drink. Uh, 2 times. I remember calling home once and just saying, I love you, mom and dad, and that was it. And um, just just looking back on that, I know he was there, but God was there with me. Uh, uh, so it just I was not a good person. Um, on the outside, I still had this view of the young Marty, um, and that tender heart, but he was gone. Um, I just couldn't understand why I was knocking on somebody's door and saying, "Hey," um, I couldn't understand it. Um, I got I got married a third time, um, and we moved. I got out of the Marine Corps, moved back to Indiana, and I just I couldn't cope. I wasn't doing it well at all, at all.
So I guess if you're in Indiana, you're out of the Marine Corps, you're essentially kind of feels like you're bottom barrel, in that sense of just like, I guess, the satisfaction with life. I guess when start walking me towards where you ended up finding Christ again, or what point at life was that? Like, how did you get there? Was it like some event? Was it a gradual walk? What was that? What was that stepping stone?
Yeah. So, um, with my third wife, um, had two children. Um, was I wasn't a good dad. Um, Walked for about oh we got divorced after 7 years. Um, 10 years together, 7 years married. Uh, and it was 2011 when my current wife and I, we went to school together. We grew up together. We never dated. Um, and I was traveling the country working on RVs. That was my job. And I ended up going to Minnesota and just having dinner with her. And it was just like, it was as if he put her and I together at that time for a reason. And 14 years later, um, 15 years later, 14 of them married. But I still was that old person. I wasn't walking. She was the spiritual head of our household. I pretty much, well, we were very close to divorce again because of me. And um, my brother-in-law, her brother, um, just kept, hey, Marty, you want to go to Bible study? Hey, Marty, you want to do this? And I'm just like at arm's length, every excuse. And
Mhm.
there was, so we started going to church. And I was doing these things to appease my wife, appease him, um, and some friends. And there, the owner of a ranch in Big Rapids, Michigan, went to the same church, and that's where we had Bible study. And he came up to me and was just like, "Would you think about going to this thing called the Hero's Return?" Um, and I'm like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." And he said, "Well, go on, sign up. Here's the link." And this was in, I believe it was in September because there was one in October. And I'm like, "Okay, great. This one is full. I can't sign up for this one, so I don't have to go to this one, right?" Um,
Yeah.
and then I call him and he's like, "Well, there's one in December." And I'm like, "Come on." So I went and I signed up for December, and right. And I I went not willingly. Um, and I have guys that tell me the stories from my first day and a couple days later. But ironically, not ironically, coincidentally, um, December 2nd of 1985 is when I went in the Marine Corps, and December 2nd of 2021 is when I went to this event, and I laid everything at his feet, and he took he took my anger, my rage, my alcoholism, and just gone. It's such a beautiful time, and I've been walking with him ever since. It's the only way I know how to fight now. My life is so much different. That old man is gone. Um, Finally, the spiritual head of
Love
my
that.
household.
Love that. Those are good tears, brother.
Uh, yeah, I don't. It's because of what he's done for me. It's not the pain anymore. December of 21 is they gave
You
everything
know what he
away.
does, right?
Absolutely.
You don't get emotion like that. You don't get emotion like that unless you know what Christ has done is true and real.
Yeah.
Um, and I found that, wow, man, I'm gonna get emotional. I didn't even expect
Mhm.
that.
Uh,
um, and uh, what a beautiful thing. And it's crazy. I have found because there's always, like what I've had people in my life, kind of nudge me to go to church, or whether it's my parents or just like a small thing. And it's like you said, like you do it um, kind of begrudgingly, or you use the word appease, and I like that because um, a lot of people do things to appease others, to essentially give them some form of happiness or gratification, or at least like, I'll do it because you want me to, like, and granted, like some of those things are just like, you know, they're micro moves in the right direction. But it's when you lay it at the Father's feet. It's when you choose to say, "You know what? I guess this is what I find beautiful, is there are people that I know that have, like, not believed in Christ at all." And, um, you can take those individuals and say, "You know what? Hey, just try it." Literally just say, "Hey, I'm gonna bring it all to the table and see what happens." And if you're willing to do that, even if you don't have like the full on faith, because faith has grown over time, right? Faith is
yeah.
built. And you make that one step, that one, and there is it's not just an emotional break. It's heartfelt. It's complete and utter. Like you said, he took alcoholism. He took anger. He took, like, those are, that's states of being. That's how, like, you interact. That's conversation. That's an emotional and mental collaboration on how we interact with one another. And you're saying, hey, I don't, I'm, that changed in you, that desire to do that. That's not saying you don't get angry. That's not saying you don't have a desire to drink, right? It's saying, I don't want that part of Marty anymore. That's the transition. That's the beautiful recognition of Christ within our lives. And I love that for you. I love that you got to go to that battle. So, and now I'm talking too much. So I'm gonna get back to you, brother. Uh, so after your Warriors battle, you say you've been walking with Christ. What has that looked like? How has that affected you? You said you're leader of the household now, and in the right way, because there's definitely a right and a wrong way to lead, especially within a family and having spouse and children. What was your relationship with your wife like? How did that transition or transform? What was that relationship with your kids like? I know that was like six different questions in one, but yeah, the ball's in your court now, brother.
Well, so the other portion that he took from me was the control and the control of my family, of all the situation. When I came home, it was it was an unspoken thing that he just placed on me. He's like, Marty, you don't need to tell them that you've changed. You need to show them that you changed
Mm.
because they didn't trust the old man. They didn't they didn't want to hear the old man. So he when we as men that are married step into that spiritual head of our household, that is bringing everything back in alignment. My wife is not designed to be the spiritual leader of our household. Yet she was doing it for so many years. And when I took that rightful place, he's blessed that. And she saw and still sees a different person. She sees Christ in me. all the relationships with my children that I destroyed, he restored.
Well, that's beautiful. It's getting you get right with the Father, and so then you can and then you can be the Father. And I think that's a beautiful one-on-one right there. I've just literally like that's a line, you know. You get right with your Father as the
It,
Father, and
it
now
is,
your
it's so
children are
simple.
right with you. Yeah.
It's so simple. We, as human beings, muddle that so bad. And if we just, so Neil, um, Neil Anderson, who wrote the 7 Steps to Freedom in Christ,
Hmm.
had a conversation with Dean. And now, mind you, Neil's a rocket scientist.
Yeah.
So he's very intelligent. And Dean
Hmm.
asked him, he said, Neil, can you dumb this down for me? Right? What is it? Right? He goes, all it is removing barriers between God and man. And it's the barriers that we put in between us and God. It's very simple. And that's not a condescending thing, right?
No,
But
no.
it's so simple. If we just get out of our own way and
Oh,
understand it,
no. Reach, brother, because like I mean that's what it is. Like
it's it's
that
not
whole
about,
line of
yeah, it's not
I was
about
gonna
me
say that
anymore.
whole line of the whole idea of getting in like getting in our own way. Um, I mean, I, I can't tell you how many different times, you know, I have wanted to lead correctly, do the right thing, to like, you know, like lead my household in the correct way. But then because it doesn't go a certain way, I allow my emotions to get into play. And then my anger gets into play. And then now I can no longer be the spiritual leader because I'm like blinded by that. And then I have to go back to the foot of the cross, humble myself, ask for forgiveness, and then the whole household is now calm. And we can actually work through the conversation based on me just removing that small barrier. And you know, obviously those can be small barriers, those can be blockades and or decades of, you know, barriers being put between you and Christ. And I think that's the beauty thing about what you did at the hero's return is you said, I laid it all at the foot of the cross. So we were just kind of talking about, you know, that transition point, the relationships changing, how you're walking, how you're leading. You had said he had restored your relationships with your children. You're taking that spiritual leadership role within your household. Um, what does that look like? What does that look like from that lifestyle, your actions? How are you living? How are you, um, like interacting with your kids, your wife, people at work? How is that person different than the Marty previously?
Well,
How are you walking, basically?
I am walking from a place of humility because who am I to judge others? And who am I to control others? Um, when he offered me this gift, everything that I had done, the way that I was, and he still said, come here. How can I not extend that, especially to my family? Right? I know you know that Dean talks about the bullseye,
Yes.
right? But we're to love him first, and then we're to love our neighbor, our closest neighbor, if we're married, as our wife, and then it's our children, and so on and so forth. And when it's not about me anymore. None of this is about me anymore. It's about how do I lead my family in a Christ-like manner. I'm not perfect, but I believe I come from a place of humility. Um, in doing that, my children, my wife, they they have to love God first, just like me, before we can love anybody else. There's no way that you can do it without. So my biological daughter, I have three daughters, two that they're all my children, but my biological daughter, um, and my son, those are the relationships that I destroyed for a better part of a decade. And my daughter, at one point, I don't remember exactly the year, but wrote me a letter and just put me on notice, right? It was, and I didn't handle that well because I wasn't walking with Christ and I was such a selfish person. I'm like, how dare you? Fast forward, I got to walk her down the aisle in October of 26. I'm sorry, October of 24. Well, we're in 26. Um, but that wouldn't have happened without him. It wouldn't have happened. And just the the position of what my wife's going through right now, there's no way that I would be able to handle it the way I'm handling it now. I wouldn't have handled it back. It would have been all about me and how it affected me. And it would be a pity party for Marty. It is about her and about how do we give that to Christ? And it's so tough for her right now because there are more bad days than good. But she understands that this isn't it for her, right? There's an eternal perspective, right? And I try to encourage her, and even for me too, and my children. It's like he put Jesus through what he put him through. What makes us think we're not going to go through trials,
Wow. Yeah.
right? And
I mean, that acknowledgement, I mean, that's like a light bulb right there. I mean, to think that like, oh, I'm saved, I'm good, I'm supposed to have this good
yeah,
and cushy life. Yet he set his own son uh
right,
to be crucified on a cross, to be brutalized, to be tortured, to be ridiculed, and to think and even the, years um of his discipleship
right,
and his teachings. I mean, it's not like he wasn't going through trials then.
right.
He persevered because he knew, like you said, an eternal perspective. And I think that's a beautiful mindset because there's such an everlasting peace within that. Knowing that, if we do this out of service, out of glorification for Christ, then, like that, I have no idea what heaven's gonna look like, right? Like, I have no idea, but like, it's like it would be the best chapter of my existence. And I'm excited to see what that looks like.
Right.
Not saying I'm excited to get to the next step, but yeah, I mean, the internal perspective, I mean, so many people within this day, the stress of life, of everything, of kids, family, economy, you know, pay this bill, pay that bill, work two jobs just to get by. Um, that it's just a torment of stress. And to give that, to be able to say, you know what, I can still serve today. I can still go to work today. I can still serve my family. I can still put food on the table, go to a job that I don't necessarily really like, but I'm going to do it out of service because I'm going to do it just the way as I'm not going to do it to serve, the human perspective. I'm going to do it to serve the Lord. And out of that, it will become a blessing.
Uh,
And internally, like you can have that peace. And I think that's a beautiful synopsis right there. Um, the I would say the most beautiful, obviously the way you're able to serve your bride, but there's something there's something beautiful because so many people in this world are broken when it comes to the relationship with the father, and so many fathers end up being disruptive. And so I have two step boys, and I call them my own 100%. And they do have a dad within their lives that very much love the boys as well. So props to him for staying in the picture and still loving those kids. But the idea of when fathers screw up and break the relationship between their kids, it's detrimental, not just to but to the children. And that connection is vital. And we can't fix that relationship, the damage that we do, until we fix the relationship with our father. And that's such a key. Oh man, like, I mean, if anything out of it's fix that, right? Like,
Yeah.
fix the relationship that you have with the father to mend the relationship with your kids. Um, wow, I mean, man, it just makes me, it's
Mm.
like, wow, I gotta do I gotta go talk to my kids now. Uh, um, but yeah, no, I want to thank you so much for your testimony, Marty. And I know you're doing ministry. I know you're targeting veterans. I know you have been in so many people's walks, including myself. And what I find beautiful, you had shared a statement with your daughter saying she can see Christ in you. I remember the first time meeting you, um, there was there was just a welcoming peace, and I felt comfortable because I got to share all of my garbage with you, and I didn't feel shame or bad about it. Like, it was such a relief, and I'm getting teared up now because I'm thinking about it. But it was such a blessing to see other people hold that, because it allows other people to unburden themselves. So for one, thank you for being a vessel of Christ, because you allowed me to uh, be transformed by you, through you, with Christ. I don't know how to do that line, but uh, I just want to thank you so much for that. And before we close, I want to pray for you. I definitely want to pray for your bride. And then we'll just do a quick send off here. So let's bow our heads. And I'm gonna wipe my nose before I pray.
Mm.
Ah, but our Father in heaven, we praise your holy name. We come before you, humble servants. And I want to especially lift up Marty Johnson for sharing his testimony, and allowing him to reach others within your kingdom. And not only for the restoration that you have put within him so he can restore his own family, but now he is a spiritual leader with his bride. And we place a hedge of protection over his wonderful bride, that you placed within his life, that guided and directed him back towards you. What a beautiful circle of life. And now he is there supporting. So I just ask for strength. I ask for restoration. I ask, just on Marty's behalf, to uplift his bride, and just give her a sense of peace, even within the pain, even with the anxiety. We cast the anxiety upon you so she can, even in the difficult circumstances of her health, she can be at peace at home and know that she is covered in your cloak. We say all of this in the power of the Lord Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, brother.
Now, you're welcome, brother. Before we close, I just want a friendly reminder, for anybody that's listening, if Marty's testimony hit home for you, or somebody that or if you've heard this and you know it would connect with somebody that you may know, please share it. That is the whole idea behind Testimony Strong, is we use our life stories, how Christ saved us, and utilize that to reach others. We are the 99 trying to find the one. Again, we are Testimony Strong. We're sponsored by Vet S.O.S. There are other several channels that really help out the veteran communities, so please check them out. Thanks again for tuning in and checking in, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.